All right, guys, let's get started. First of all, thank you so much for joining this webinar on a Saturday. I know this is a Saturday morning for a lot of you guys, but for some of you, it's a Saturday night, and you could be elsewhere, but you decided to join this webinar. So we appreciate you, and thank you so much for joining. My name is Patrick. I'm one of the lead course creators at hadoopandrealworld.com. Before I go in any further and talk about what we're going to cover today, do me a quick favor. Type in your name, where are you from, and are you familiar with Hadoop in real world? Just go ahead and type it in the chat. We have Harika from Chicago, yes, and you're familiar with Hadoop in real world. Samantha from Brookfield, Wisconsin. Aditya from Phoenix. Ravi from New Jersey. Deepak from New York. Dinakaran from India, Hyderabad. Tulsa. Gopi from India, Anjana from India, San Jose, Deepak from San Jose, Prabhu from Singapore, nice. Okay, cool, from Cincinnati, Bangalore, Boston, UK. We have someone from UK, perfect. All right. Excellent, Atlanta, Pramod from Atlanta, perfect. Satya from Singapore, nice, okay. Toronto, we have someone from Dubai, Kevin from Dubai, excellent. We have Maniman from India, Ramakrishna from Hyderabad. Nice, excellent, excellent, excellent. Guys, again, thank you so much for joining. So we have people from a lot of places. We have people from Dubai, we have people from Canada, we have people from UK, we have people from India, we have people from all over the US. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining. We have about 60 people in the webinar, so that's a good enough crowd. All right, okay. So let me give a quick introduction about ourselves for those of you who are not familiar with Hadoop in real world. Okay, and after that, I'll talk about what we're going to cover today. Sounds good? All right. So who are we? So we are a group of big data consultants in Hadoop in real world, and we do execute real-time projects for our end clients. So we do consulting on big data projects and stuff. And also, we help students online to launch new careers in big data field, right? So we have over 70,000 students in all our courses combined. And the 70,000 students, I should say, we have 70,000 happy students, right? Because we don't just teach some set of tools. What we are trying to do here is we are trying to achieve the goals our students have, right? So we are trying to launch brand new careers for our students. We are trying to give the confidence that is needed for our students to execute real world Hadoop projects or big data projects or Spark projects, right? We're basically giving them the confidence that they need to work in production clusters, to face a client, to go and crush an interview, right? So that is what we are trying to do. So it's not about teaching a bunch of tools. It's about giving the confidence you need to always get the career you want and work in exciting projects and solving great problems. All right. So we have about 4 courses right now, and you can look at our courses when you go to courses.hadoopandrealworld.com. We have Hadoop Starter Kit, Spark Starter Kit, Hadoop Developer in Real World, Hadoop Administrator in Real World. Both Hadoop Starter Kit and Spark Starter Kit are 100% free, meaning you can go in, and take the course today, right? And we have 2 premium courses, Hadoop Developer in Real World and Hadoop Administrator in Real World, where we go in deep to teach our students what is done in real world in terms of development and in terms of administration with respect to Hadoop, right? You'll get the confidence you need to work in production clusters, all right? So we are here today to talk about Spark Developer in Real World. This is a brand new course we are coming up in 2 weeks. So the course goes live on April 29th. That's a Sunday, right? And the pre-order for the course starts today. All right. So why Spark? why we decided to do a course on Spark. So the first request that came to us from one of our students to create a Spark course was on March 2015, right? So like 3 years back. But 3 years back, we were involved in Spark projects ourselves for our end clients, but we were extremely busy in building and maintaining both developer and Hadoop administration courses, right? As you know, all of our courses are pretty much live courses, right? They are updated constantly. So last year, if you're a student of developer or administrator, you would have seen a lot of updates that gone into both Hadoop developer and Hadoop administrator courses. So we were extremely busy in keeping our course up to date, our current courses up to date. And also we came out with Spark Starter Kit towards around the same time last year, like April 2017, right? And then we started working in Spark. We spoke to our students, we understood what they really want, and we looked at the landscape of what Spark offers, and we created a course curriculum and we started executing on creating the course. Excuse me. So today, I'm going to give an overview, an in-depth overview of what the course coverage looks like for the Spark Developer in Real World course, right? And towards the end of it, I'm going to give you the link where you can go and enroll for the course. Sounds good? All right. Okay. The very first thing we will do in our course, in our Spark Developer in Real World course, is to understand why we need something like Spark. Even if you're a Spark developer, or even if you have friends who are working as Spark developer, just ask the question, right? So why do we need Spark? Why is Spark so cool? You would get a lot of different answers. Very few people can answer it concretely. Why we need Spark? Why we need a new tool when we have a lot of execution tools like Hadoop or even database engines, in-memory data warehouses and things like that, right? Only few people can answer the question why we need Spark. And then after answering why we need Spark, we answer the question, what is the difference between Hadoop and Spark? Okay, so this chapter is going to give you a good overview of why we need another tool like Spark in the big data ecosystem, plain and simple, all right? Next, RDD. RDD is the core concept in Spark. Everything revolves around RDD in Spark, okay? So, but, RDD concept, people work in RDDs like day in and day out, but, they don't have a full grasp of why Spark creators create a new abstraction called RDD, and why is it so core for Spark? So the intention of this chapter is to walk you through step by step, what is RDD, why we need something like RDD, and most importantly, what are some of the misconceptions when it comes to RDD? That is what an RDD is not. All right. So at the end of this chapter, you'll have a very good understanding of why we need a new abstraction called RDD in Spark. Next, we talk about program to execution. So you write a program and then the program execute in Spark. What happens behind the scenes? How Spark achieves the optimization it claims to achieve during the execution. That is exactly what you will see here. All right. So in this, we'll talk about different kinds of transformations, narrow transformations, wide transformations, and how they affect the execution. We'll talk about pipelining and some of the optimization techniques that the Spark employs to make the execution faster. Okay. So far, all the chapters that I mentioned, these chapters are already available in the Spark Starter Kit course. These chapters are not new. Okay, so these chapters are already available in the Spark Starter Kit course, and you can, enroll in that course right now and start learning, because the Spark Starter Kit is 100% free, right? These concepts did not change. The concepts and the basics still remain the same, and they are still solid in Spark, right? But Spark has moved on to a lot of other different concepts, right? So the following concepts that I'm going to talk about is the core of Spark Developer in the Real World course. Okay. So we looked at Spark, their roadmap, the roadmap from data frames. A lot of creators from Spark are working in data frames now. So we looked at their roadmap. What are they trying to do? What are they going to do in the next 5 years? What is the roadmap for Spark looks like? And where the effort is going to go and which areas the effort is going to go inside of the Spark ecosystem. So we designed a course around that, right? We also talked to our students who are either working in Spark or trying to get into Spark to understand what their needs are, right? And we designed a course coverage based on those needs. Sounds good? Okay. Since RDD, a lot has happened, right? So RDD was a concept that came out when Spark came out. It was the core of Spark. Everyone was using RDD. And then in Spark version 1.6 came out data frames. Data frames is like the abstraction. It's like a high-level API in Spark right now, okay? You can say more people are using data frames now when compared to RDD, but RDD still remains. But when I ask the question, why do you need something like data frames when you already have RDD? We always get vague answers, right? And this is one of the questions we tend to ask our candidates when we interview for our clients. Right? Why do you need something like data frames when you already have RDD? We get vague answers like data frames is so user-friendly. You can look at data in a table abstraction rather than RDD abstraction. Like some vague answers, not so clear and not so clear answers, which make us feel like, okay, this person doesn't have a clear understanding of, what is the need of this abstraction, right? So that's where we start first. We start with the need. Why we need something like a data frame. Next, we talk about data sets. We have data frame. What is a data set? And when do you use a data frame and when do you use a data set? And why would you use a data set when you already have something like a data frame, right? And to demonstrate an experiment with data frames, we will use a data set from YouTube with a list of trending videos. So the data set has a list of trending videos. We'll use the data set to do some nice querying, to experiment, and to show you a few things about our data frames, right? So the data sets, the YouTube data set is in the CSV format, and also we have another data set under the same YouTube data set, which is a JSON format. So we'll look at both, right? So you will have a good idea of how to read and work with CSV data set, and also how to read and work with JSON data set. And then we'll look at page ranking. How can we do rank pages using data frames, right? And for this, we will get the data from Wikipedia. We'll collect few metadata information about few pages in Wikipedia, and then we'll rank the pages. A very similar way how Google would rank their pages, right? And by the way, the programming language that we decide to use for Spark in real world is Scala. Okay, we hear this question a lot. People are wondering whether we're going to use Java, Python, or Scala. But so far, speaking with all this, a lot of students, and what we have seen, how Spark is used in real world, Scala is the language of choice. And we are using Scala in Spark Developer in real world throughout, except in a couple of places where we'll be using Python. Okay. So you might ask, what if I, what do I do if I don't know Scala? I would say if you're already familiar with Python, you would have no problem picking up Scala. So, you will have an easy transition to Scala, a very easy transition to Scala. If you already know Java, it's not going to be very difficult. Okay, it's not going to be very difficult. All you have to do is look up anonymous functions, and then you'll be set. Look up anonymous function, try a couple of sample codes with anonymous function, sample programs with anonymous functions, and you will be all set, okay? What if you're not a programmer? Data frames on a high level is designed for non-programmers to use Spark, okay? It is a high level API. Although you would feel like you're writing a little bit of SQL or a little bit of SQL. In some places, you would find yourself writing code, but data frames is meant to make non-programmers' life a little bit easier. Okay. Spark also offers a SQL API where you can work with. All right. A SQL API where you can work with, where you can type like a plain ANSI type SQL queries against the Spark computation engine against your data set. All right. So there are several options available here, but Scala is going to be the language of choice for the course. All right. I see some people are raising their hands. At the end of the session, I'm going to open up for questions where I'll be answering all your questions. So don't worry, okay? I'm going to continue through the slides, and I'm going to cover the course coverage first, and then we'll answer all your questions. All right, cool. All right, so data frames, done. So let's move on. What is after data frames? This project, we are so excited about this particular chapter, right? Spark under the hood. So if you know how to work with Spark, that is good, but to get a decent understanding of how things execute internally is very, very important. Why? Because what happens inside after your program is ready for execution and it is executing, what happens inside makes a lot of difference if you understand it. Think about you're driving a car, right? You're driving a car at 60 miles an hour. How would you feel if you're driving the same car blind, right? But blindfolded. You don't know where you're going, right? You're going to crash somewhere, of course. So if you don't know what happens inside Spark, that is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to write some code, which sometimes may not execute properly on Spark. So to troubleshoot when such issues happen, you need to know what happens internally. That is under the hood. That is exactly what we'll cover in this chapter. We'll start with Catalyst Optimizer. The need for Catalyst Optimizer, and how Catalyst Optimizer take your program and convert into physical execution against RDDs, into RDDs, right? What kind of changes your program goes through before it executes on a set of worker nodes. We'll talk about logical plan, we'll talk about optimized logical plan, physical plan, and all that here. We'll basically take a program, execute it, and dissect the plans, and we'll explain you what happens inside the Catalyst Optimizer. So this will give you a very good idea when things are running slow, for instance, you know where to go and check. All right. The next important thing, or the next important development that is going on in the Spark community is Project Tungsten. Right? Project Tungsten is preparing Spark for the next 5 years in the evolution of hardware. Okay? If your friend is working in Spark or you're working in Spark, ask yourself or ask your friend, what is Project Tungsten, right? Some people can answer it precisely what it is, but most often you'll get vague answer. People don't understand what really is. Because it is, to be honest, it is a little bit of technicality going in there, but we think it's important to understand what is going on in Project Tungsten, because it is going to eventually affect your execution of your program. If you understand things better, what happens internally after you write the code, you're going to write optimized code. Or when things doesn't work properly, you know where to look, right? Next is memory management. We all know Spark uses in-memory for computation, so which means memory management is very essential. You need to know how Spark manages memory. So how much you can ask for, and how much you would get, and how much you can use. This understanding is also helpful when you have memory issues and such. All right, troubleshooting. Next, execution in action. When your program executes in cluster, what are the actors involved in the execution, and how the different components or actors communicate and talk to each other, right? This is going to help you write optimized code again, or at least will give you a better understanding of what happens during execution. Sounds good? So this is an important and interesting chapter. All right, moving on. Installation, plain standard explanation. I don't think I need to talk about this too much. We'll teach you here how to install a standalone cluster. That is, we'll use the resource manager that comes outside, out of the box from Spark. And we will use the Yarn resource manager and we'll do the installation. Okay, so we'll show you two flavors of installation. Next. Machine learning. Machine learning is going to be so big in Spark. It's already big, but it's going to hit mainstream. There are a lot of companies already using it, but we don't see a lot of mainstream adoption yet, but this is going to catch up very quickly, right? So we always tell our students, you need to focus on machine learning. But whenever we say that, we see hesitation in their students' faces, right? Because when I just said machine learning, how many of you guys thought, the mathematics, how many of, the word mathematics would have crossed your mind, correct? That's the first thing that would cross our mind when we hear machine learning. And as a kid myself, and a lot of us, we don't like, we did not like maths that much, right? Mathematics was always not our favorite subject. It is true if you were to tell me the same thing like 7 or 8 years back. Machine learning is so involved with mathematics, and that's a true statement like 7 or 8 years back. But a lot of things have changed. You have so many APIs right now that make your job much easier, right? Yet people run away from machine learning. I mean, you can't anymore. It's not going to be an option anymore, okay? Because the whole industry is moving towards predictive analysis, which means you need to have a decent understanding of what machine learning is. And Spark has a separate module for machine learning, okay? And a lot of clients are asking for machine learning, all right? So when we hire Spark consultants, usually we are interviewing multiple candidates, and even though, let's say in a project we are not using machine learning ourselves, sometimes when we see machine learning in a person's resume, we pick up that resume compared to other resumes on the table, right? So machine learning, it's not going to be an option anymore. You have to get involved in it, if you're trying to work or launch a career in the big data ecosystem. But machine learning doesn't have to be that complex, okay? All we have to know is, what are the stages involved in machine learning? What do you do with the data? What kind of things you can do with the data? What are some of the popular algorithms and how they work internally? And how you implement machine learning, or how you use those algorithms or models in Spark, okay? And our job is to break the complex thing down to step by step and help you and take your hand and walk you through the complex process step by step. But it doesn't have to be complex. So we're going to cover a lot of topics in our machine learning chapter. Okay, we're going to start with feature engineering, where you take your data set, you cleanse your data set, and you look at your data, and you either clean or transform your data to fit for machine learning. Okay, and then we are going to talk about regression and classification models, some of the machine learning models. We'll talk about that here. Next, we're going to look into a bunch of projects, to crystallize our understanding. First, we'll take a very simple data set, which is a World Happiness Report data set, where all the countries are ranked in terms of a happiness score. Okay, we'll take the score and we'll predict a rank. A very simple machine learning problem, okay? Very simple prediction. Next, we go slightly complex. We take the US 2016 elections, right? And we look at the primary results for all the Republican candidates, and we'll predict who is going to win. All right. Next, we go one level deep. We will do some language processing with Yelp reviews. So we have a data set with a lot of Yelp reviews. We'll analyze the data set, and we'll do some predictive computation on what the review would be. Is it a 5-star review? Is it a 1-star review? Is it a bad review or a good review? So we are going to do some text analysis here. Okay, so that's going to be very interesting. Next, we'll do image classification. And this is more of a higher level problem, right? So we're going to look at some images, and we're going to say, is this image, for example, a drink or a food? You know, for example, if you ever went to Yelp.com and if you're looking up for restaurants, let's say, right? You select a restaurant, you click on a restaurant, and you check out the pictures in the restaurant. And Yelp would nicely categorize those pictures as drinks, as foods, as dessert, and things like that, right? Well, how that classification happens? Sometimes user would tag the pictures, but not always. And there is no one manually sitting behind the scenes or sitting behind the computer to classify these images. Machine learning is in play. Okay. Again, all these sound complicated, but it is not. And it is our job even to take the complicated concepts and make it simple for you guys. Okay. And there are several higher level APIs to do all these jobs, right? For example, image classification, we're going to use Google's TensorFlow, right? So there are APIs already in place. Spark has a dedicated Spark ML API or library to help us with machine learning. So don't worry, it's not complicated, and you cannot ignore machine learning anymore, okay? All right. Moving on. Streaming. Spark streaming is another area where we see a lot of development, right? So imagine this, right? So, you probably have used Hadoop, or if you're not using Hadoop, let's say you're using some kind of a database like MySQL or Oracle or SQL Server, whatever it is, right? And you're processing data. And you could be processing your data or your ETL operation every night, right? So that's mostly batch processing. So you wait for the data, overnight, you run some processing, and in the morning, the processed data is available for reporting or for querying by the end users to answer business problems, right? So waiting a day for processed data is too much time, correct? So what we do real-time processing. We try to get the data frequently, sometimes using queues continuously, right? We store it in the database. And sometimes we run our queries whenever we want, maybe like, every half an hour or every 1 hour or so, right? So that is mostly near real-time processing. So the data gets in and we run some processing on it to make it available for the end users, right? But as we get lots and lots of data, the need for processing the data in a real-time continuous fashion, becomes a high priority. And this is already a priority for a lot of our clients, right? So for example, let's say your Visa or MasterCard, right? You're making millions of transactions a day. And if I have a card with if I have a Visa credit card, right? And if someone is making a fraud transaction on my credit card, I want to get an alert right away. I don't want to get an alert like a day from now, right? I want to get an alert that someone is misusing my card or potentially misusing my card right away, right? So there is a need to process and report on the data right away. So that's where streaming comes in. Okay, so now imagine this streaming problem on a big data scale. That is what Spark streaming is trying to solve. Okay, so we are getting data from a lot of sources, and Spark does computation on the fly as the data comes in. All right, so as the data comes in, and this could be thousands of data coming every second, right? Spark starts crunching these numbers, and makes the data available for the end users for reporting or for processing or for charting, whatever, or even to train machine learning models on the fly. Okay, so that's the need for streaming. That's why we see a lot of movement toward this area, right? And Spark is putting in, the Spark/Databricks community is putting in a lot of development and time and effort into this area, right? So we first talk about the need for streaming, and then we talk about the output modes, where we discuss, what are the types of output modes and how they differ from each other. Next, we talk about late events. Sometimes your data, could originate at the source at 10 a.m. and could reach into Spark streaming in the afternoon, right? So how do you handle such late data? And what are the consequences of handling and not handling the late data, things and such, right? And then we will stream live data from meetup.com. So meetup.com has a live RSVP feed that you can consume, right? So we're going to write an adapter to consume to consume the messages from meetup.com, push it to Kafka, right? And from Kafka, we are going to use Spark streaming to do the computation, right? So you see there are we're chaining a lot of applications here. And this is very common, in a big data landscape, right? So we're going to look at meetup.com. We're going to write a program to consume the messages, put it in Kafka, and from Kafka, we are going to use Spark streaming to consume it, compute on the data, and push the output back to Kafka. Okay, so it's a whole chain. And this would be an interesting chapter. Okay, all right, moving on. And we have several upcoming releases as well. So all the things that I mentioned will be covered when we go live on April 29th. Okay, that is in a couple of weeks. You'll see everything on April 29th. And we have several upcoming releases already planned on optimization and troubleshooting topics. And these releases will happen very soon after April 29th. And of course, we will let you guys know the date. As you know already, all our courses are living courses, right? They live. We update the courses, often. So last year, as I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, we made a lot of improvements and updates to the developer and the administrator courses. This year, it's going to be Spark. All right. So you can expect a lot of additions coming into the courses in periodic intervals, right? And we'll make announcements, whenever we plan to update, beforehand, and also when it goes, when the module goes live, right? And as always, if you feel like, there is a topic, there is a pressing need for a topic that our course is missing that should be added, do let us know, right? Most of the updates that we did on our Hadoop courses, came from our students, right? Because our students wanted it. We added Kafka last year to a Hadoop course, right? I mean, some would ask, like, why are you adding a Kafka module to a Hadoop course? But a lot of students wanted to see Kafka and how to use Kafka because they were using Kafka in their production environments, right? So, if you feel like something is missing, definitely let us know, and we'll, make our best efforts to bring it into the course. All right. Now, how do you enroll, right? So the course is open for pre-order now, right? What is a pre-order? Pre-order means when you sign up for the course, you won't see all the contents, right? Actually, right now, you don't see any of the contents. The course's go live date is 29th April. That is in 2 weeks, right? But you can go and pre-order the course now at hadoopinrealworld.com/spark. So go there and you can do the pre-order right away, right? What is the benefit in doing a pre-order? Why do you want to, why don't you just wait till the go live date, right? Because of the price difference, you're giving an early bird discount for anyone who's doing a pre-order. When the course goes live, it's going to be priced at $199. But when you pre-order the course now, it's going to be $149, which is a $50 discount. So when you pre-order now, you can get the course at a discounted price. So if you're thinking to get into Spark, I would say go ahead with the pre-order. Why wait till the go live date and lose the $50 discount, right? And again, this course, I basically covered what we are going to, or what you're going to learn in this course. And also, we talked about the upcoming releases. If you feel there is something that needs to be there that is missing, give us a shout. All right. So don't wait any longer. If you're ready to get into Spark, this is the best time to sign up. Okay. So simply go to www.hadoopinrealworld.com/spark and you'll get to the screen to pre-order. Cool. Now question time. You can go ahead and type in your questions in the chat, and I'm watching the chat right now. So go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to go go a little bit higher to look up some of the old chats first. Are we going to cover data sets and data frames? Yes, we are going to cover both data frames and data set. Although data frames is widely used in Spark, so we will be using a lot of data frames. But yes, you will also know what is a data set. What is the version of Spark? The latest version of Spark is 2.3, so that's what we will use in our course. Okay, so it's going to be the latest 2.3. Okay, so could you please tell the difference between Spark SQL and data frame? Okay, both are high-level APIs, right? RDD is considered a low-level API now. Both Spark SQL and data frames are high-level API built on top of a module in Spark called Spark SQL, right? What is the difference? Both data frames, data set, and a SQL will go through an optimizer called Catalyst Optimizer, which is going to look at your code and it's going to restructure, optimize the code before executing it. That's the difference. And we will go into much detail in the course. Okay. Is the course going to be in Scala or Python? It's going to be in Scala. And in some places where we show charting and things like that, in machine learning, we'll cover Python. Okay. Which version of Spark? It's going to be 2.3, and structured streaming is included, yes. For now, we are going to, okay, so the question is, are you going to cover only regression and classification in machine learning? Yes, as a start, we are going to start with regression and classification. We are going to look at some regression models, and we are also going to look at classification models like random forest. But we are not touching deep learning yet, but that's definitely out in the future. Please add Kafka to Spark as well. Glad you asked. So there is someone asking to add Kafka to Spark. Yes, we can certainly do that. Because as I said, in the streaming chapter, we are going to push messages to Kafka, consume messages out of Kafka, and do some computation and push the output back into Kafka. So you need to know what Kafka is. Definitely we will do it. All right, any dedicated chapter for Scala, as most of the part in Scala. We don't have a dedicated chapter for Scala. As I mentioned, if you are from Python, Scala is going to be very easy for you. Okay, so it's going to be a very easy transition. If you're from Java, it's not going to be too hard. What I would recommend is you go over anonymous functions, right? So, take some, go to YouTube, look for some anonymous function tutorials and try it out, right? Because when we use the most confusing part for most object-oriented programmers coming out from the Java world is the anonymous functions in Scala. Okay, so make sure you understand that, and then things should be easier for you. Whether this course will be launched in Udemy? No, we are not planning to add this course in Udemy. No, it's only going to be on our website, that is courses.hadoopinrealworld.com. The problems are assignments. Can we expect the code for assignments/problems to be provided also in Java rather than just Scala? No, it's going to be just Scala. Because when you go, the reason is, I mean, you have to accept Scala as the language for Spark, right? If you're interested in Spark, you should definitely be interested in Scala. There is no running away from it. Okay, even if you say that my client right now is using Java on Spark, yes, good. But if you're moving on to another client, or if you're trying to go to another employer, they might very well be using Scala. Okay, so I would definitely recommend check out Scala. If you're already a Java programmer, it's not a big leap. Right, good question. Will you be providing access to any cluster like we did for the Hadoop course? Yes, we are going to give you access to a Spark cluster. It's going to be a separate cluster because, as you know, Spark is memory intensive. And this cluster, again, is going to be shared. So we are going to create a separate Spark cluster and give you access to the Spark cluster. And it's going to be included in the course free of charge. What about Storm instead of Kafka? We're not going to cover Storm now. One of the reason is, structured API has a good support for Kafka, so we picked up Kafka. Again, in this course, we're not going to talk about Flink. Flink is very compatible with Spark, but if you look at the industry adoption, Spark has a wider adoption than Flink. Sorry, the question was why Spark if Flink is there for streaming and it's faster than Spark. Any prerequisite of Hadoop is required from administrative point of view. Does it make sense to combine Hadoop admin and Spark dev, some kind of a combo? So the question is, what are the prerequisites, or is there a prerequisite for this course, for the Spark course, on the Hadoop side? I think that's the question, right? We're going to touch on Hadoop wherever it is relevant. Okay, so for example, when we talk about Yarn, we're going to explain what Yarn is for for people from non-Hadoop background. But if you're taking Spark, it's a very high chance you already know what Hadoop is, right? And you already know what what are the major components in Hadoop. Okay, again, the question on the cluster, you will get access to the cluster. Okay, bundling the courses. We are not bundling the Spark courses with any other courses yet, right? So now you can get the Spark, the Hadoop developer and the Hadoop administrator course as a bundle. So the question here is, are you going to bundle the Spark developer course with anything else? No, not right now. It's going to be a standalone course. Are we going to cover Spark SQL using Hive tables? No, we are not covering Spark SQLs with Hive yet. No, not right now, but definitely in the future, yes. Okay, I think there is someone that who's we're already getting requests for new module additions. Kuldeep wants a dedicated chapter on Spark SQL over Hive. We'll take it into account, Kuldeep. We'll also talk to our students, see what the demand is, what they think of different priorities, and we'll add accordingly. Cool. All right. Any plans to include Spark interview questions in the course? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. That's one of the things we do because, as I said, our goal is to get you in a client location working, or get you launch your career, and the gateway to launch a new career or launch a new job is interviews, right? So wherever it is possible, we are touching on the interview questions like we did on Hadoop and Real World. Yes. Any other questions, guys? I think I covered most of the questions. Any plans to introduce dedicated machine learning course in the near future? Right now, no, because we wanted to tie machine learning to Spark. Right now, no, but we are going to add a lot of things into the machine learning chapter inside of the Spark course, right? Yeah. Please send me the course content and email. Definitely yes. Definitely yes. We'll do that. Yeah, the course will definitely include how you can bundle up and do the deployment. You will be working on cluster mode. I think the question is, will the course include chapters on deploying Spark on both cluster and client mode? Yes, the answer is yes. What about extra discount for existing students? This is the discount. I mean, if you know Hadoop and real world, all our discounts are public, right? We don't offer one-off discounts. If if one student is getting a discount, all students have access to that discount, right? So the pre-order discount is the best you could get right now. The cluster we will use, we're still thinking about it. In our course, when we set up the cluster installation, we talk about both standalone and yarn. We are not covering Mesos yet, but we discuss both yarn installation and standalone installation. The cluster that we are going to provide access to the students, we are still thinking what is the best way to go about it. The only reason we're thinking about it is because we have a lot of students accessing the cluster, and Spark is a memory intensive application, but you can get infinite memory. So we are thinking about it. Okay, till what time period the discount will be available? The discount will be available till the 29th. Actually, 28 midnight. That's when it expires, because 29th the course goes live. So till 28 midnight, you get access to the discount. Will we have lifetime access to the course? All our courses have are lifetime. You enroll in the course and you get lifetime access to the course and all the updates that comes along with the courses in the future, right? So you get lifetime access to the cluster, lifetime access to the course, and lifetime access to all the modules that we add, any updates we add to the course as well. Any plans to cover data export from Spark to any NoSQL databases like Cassandra? No, not yet. No, not in the current course curriculum. Again, if you have like pressing needs, if you feel like something that would benefit all the students, that's sort of mandatory, let us know. Send us an email. I've already taken note of two. One is Spark SQL over Hive, and the other one is querying against NoSQL. Does the course will have any module dedicated to performance tuning? When it goes live, the answer is when it goes live on the 29th, we don't have a chapter on performance tuning or troubleshooting, but it is slated for an upcoming release, and the release date will be announced very soon. Ankit is asking, when is your next video for, I think, webinar? He's asking about a webinar. When is your next webinar for Hadoop interview is going to be? In the near future, we are focusing, we're very focused on Spark right now, trying to get the course out on time. That's why we are not finding the time to do webinars this year yet. But after the course is out, we'll be more consistent in our webinars. And I know the Hadoop interview question webinar we did last year was a big hit. We'll definitely do another very similar webinar like we did, in the last year. Do send your questions in, send your questions in, we'll compile the questions, we'll start accumulating them right now. And if you have some interesting interview questions that you think it's going to benefit the Hadoop and real world community, definitely send us in and we'll set up a session to answer those. Any interview question answer for Spark as a bonus? No, we are not planning that bonus right now. No, we don't have a guide prepared, for that. Where can we get the complete course content? We have not published the course content on the website yet because we thought it's better to do a live webinar and share the content here. But we will definitely, before the course goes live, you will have a full list of chapters broken down by lessons, the projects, and all that on our website. Is Hadoop a prerequisite for this course? Is Hadoop a prerequisite for the course? In some areas, yes, I would say. I wouldn't say completely no. There is so Spark is an evolution, right? Spark is kind of an evolved product of Hadoop, I would say, right? So and both are distributed. So some kind of knowledge is good. For example, like a basic MapReduce knowledge or a knowledge about HDFS, what HDFS is at least, right? So that kind of knowledge, we kind of assume that when we talk about Spark, because we will say we're going to read the data from HDFS, right? So we assume you know HDFS, at least the basic concept of it. So there is certainly there's a little bit of a prerequisite, but not a whole lot, no. But wherever it's relevant, we'll definitely talk about it. For example, when we set up a Spark cluster with Yarn as a resource manager, we'll definitely talk about Yarn, okay? So there we'll go deep. But some basic aspects we think we assume that you know already. Will Spark take over Hadoop? I mean, a lot of people are using it. A lot meaning Hadoop. A lot of established organizations have production clusters with Hadoop, and they have their jobs automated already in Hadoop. But they're also trying out Spark, right? They're also trying to see whenever they see a bottleneck, they feel like can Spark handle it better? So we have seen clients trying out Spark, definitely yes, but it's going to be a slow migration. Even if all companies wants to move into Spark, it's going to be very slow because there are a lot of established companies have established ETL process in production running day and night. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, we were talking about prerequisite, and Ali is saying, how about if I take the Hadoop starter kit? Is that going to be a good enough prerequisite? Absolutely. Thank you, Ali. Thanks for pointing it out. If you're not familiar with Hadoop, take our Hadoop starter kit course, right? Before you before you move into a Spark, before you start with Spark Developer and Real World course. Right? Because Hadoop Starter Kit course has everything you want to get you started, right? It talks about MapReduce, it talks about HDFS, it talks about why something like HDFS, why MapReduce, the reasoning behind a distributed platform like Hadoop, and also it touches on Pig and Hive. Yeah, so thank you, Ali. That's a very good point, yes. So Ram Keys is asking total hours of the course content. We have not calculated yet, Ram Keys, to be honest with you. But when we have the course curriculum laid out, we will have the minutes on each side, and we'll let you know for sure. Okay, because we are in the final phase of production, and the courses are being edited right now. So after the editing is complete, we'll have the course duration. Is Scala difficult to pick up with no programming background? Okay, so let's say you don't have a programming background. I would suggest you start with Python. Take a couple of Python tutorials and focus just on functions. Okay, focus just on functions, how to use collections, for instance, like arrays, list, things like map, how do you iterate over collections. So those are the things that you will be using a lot, okay? So you don't have to, and think like this, guys, right? If you're going to work in Spark, you don't have to know Spark like to be a Spark programmer, right? You have to know the basic construct, right? Because you're not going to develop a web application which is written in Scala, right? So, but you're going to work with your data. You're going to load your data, iterate your data in collections, write some functions and things like that, right? So you need to know how do you work with collections, especially. And if you're new to programming, definitely look into like while loops, for loops, if else constructs and things like that. And if you're new to Scala, again, functions. Look into anonymous functions. Okay. Vamsi is asking, okay, Radha Krishna is saying, thanks for the webinar. I purchased the course. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Vamsi is saying, is there a project that we work on in this course? There are several projects. We cover several projects. I went through a few. We're looking at the different data. We work with different data sets. For example, we look, when we talk about data frames, we use a simple data set from YouTube where it has a list of trending videos, right? A very small data set, but good enough to explore data frames and to read CSV and JSON files, right? And we also do page ranking and with data frames, using data frames. I mean, the reason we do page ranking is because we get to learn how to work with XML data set, right? Because we get the metadata for the pages that we're going to rank from Wikipedia, and we get that in an XML format. And when we get into machine learning, we're going to look at a lot of different data sets. We're going to use the US 2016 election results to predict the winner. We're going to look at ELP review dataset, which is in JSON format, to predict, or to classify good reviews with bad reviews. And we are going to use some images to do classification. And when we do streaming, we use data from meetup.com. We consume live JSON messages using an over HTTP using a REST connection and pull the messages into Kafka. Related to certification, we looked at the certification. We took a lot of topics from the certification, although more needs to be added. Yes, you'll certainly see some gaps between the certification and content and the course right now, which will be eventually filled. Okay. All right, so it's 11 on the dot, guys. I answered a lot of questions, and if you have any more questions, please send us an email. Again, if you're if you're ready to purchase the course, definitely go to hadoopanrealworld.com/spark. Do it before the 29th. Okay, do it before the 29th to get the discount. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, I already have notes on few. If you have any suggestions that few things needs to be added to the course, definitely let us know. And all right, keep in touch. Send us email if you have any questions, and we are always here to help. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining this webinar. It's always fun, to chat with you guys, and we'll do this again soon. Okay, thank you. Bye.